What's up, YouTube? It's Tyson, and I am here today with a very exciting video. Last night I got super bored, so I decided to try and think, what are my favorite albums of all time? And in the spirit of it being March, and it's about to be March Madness, basketball obviously, if you're not familiar, I decided I want to do a bracket with my 32 maybe favorite albums of all time. I don't know. There's a lot of albums I love. This list could be a little bit messed up, but this is kind of off the top of my head what I was thinking. My first round right here, we have House of Balloons by The Weeknd versus Either Or by Elliott Smith. Either Or, obviously, you're getting some of the greatest indie songs of all time, in my opinion, some of the greatest indie rock music you're ever going to hear. The Weeknd's House of Balloons kind of redefined R&B in a lot of ways. This is a tough decision for me. I'm going to go with House of Balloons, though. I'm going to go House of Balloons. As you can see, we're sponsored today by Max. We're sponsored by everything that's shown up here, Disney World, so shout out to those guys for supporting the channel. Second matchup we have here. You guys are going to learn a lot about my music taste because of this video. We have Life After Fame by Quando Rondo, one of my favorite trap artists of all time, versus Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Both rap albums, obviously. One of these is just kind of a hit parade of trap music with some of the greatest features I've ever heard from certain artists like Youngboy Never Broke Again, Shy Glizzy, even a really cool YK Osiris feature on here. And then obviously you have Good Kid, Mad City, one of arguably the greatest rap albums of all time. But it's going to be Good Kid, Mad City here. These matchups are hilarious. All right, now we got the Diary of Alicia Keys versus Soulfly by Rod Wave. Alicia Keys, R&B / pop star. Rod Wave, R&B / rap artist. Alicia Keys is one of my favorite artists of all time. As much as I love Rod Wave, it's gonna be the Diary of Alicia Keys. Here we go. This is a good one. We got Phoebe Bridgers' Stranger in the Alps versus Heaven Knows by Pink Panthers. Two of my absolute favorite artists in the world. Phoebe Bridgers, one of my favorite indie darlings. Pink Panthers, I don't even know necessarily what to consider her. Pop star, drum and bass star, I guess. Are there stars in drum and bass? It's tough, but it's not. It's gonna be Stranger in the Alps. This has, if you go watch my top 100 songs of all time video, this has probably 4 songs on that video. So as much as I love Heaven Knows, one of my favorite albums of the last 3 years, it's gonna have to be Stranger in the Alps. There are just too many amazing songs on Stranger. All right, we have Mitchell Musso's Self-Titled versus Taboo by Denzel Curry. I don't know if everyone who watches my channel can relate, but I grew up a big Disney kid. I was very into Disney Channel shows when I was a kid. I was convinced I was going to marry Selena Gomez when I was a kid, all this stuff. This album gives me a level of comfort. It reminds me of being in my dad's truck listening to Radio Disney when he would go to work. It reminds me of watching shows on Disney Channel and seeing him pop up in the commercials. It reminds me of the Radio Disney jams, whatever CDs we would get. The album makes me happy, for lack of better words. And then Taboo by Denzel Curry, for a while I considered to be my favorite rap album of all time. I just think he did so many really cool things on here. This is the hardest matchup for me so far, funny enough. I really need to think on this one. I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm picking Mitchell Musso's Self-Titled here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Shout out to Heretic for sponsoring the video. Here, now this is a good one. Oh my gosh. Sprained Ankle by Julian Baker versus To Hell With It by Pink Panthers. So Sprained Ankle is one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion. It makes me cry every time I hear it. It's about her religious struggle, her experience getting in a bad car accident, and basically feeling like a greater power saved her from dying. It has like really heavy gospel themes, but the whole album is about like her internal battle, like, oh my gosh, do I believe, do I not believe, all of this stuff. and it doesn't even necessarily leave you with a resolve. It kind of lets you sit in it. I love the album. It makes me cry every time I listen to it. And then we have To Hell With It by Pink Panther. Dude, this is easily the hardest matchup I've had on here so far. To Hell With It by Pink Panthers has some of my favorite songs I've ever heard. Obviously, it's her first album. These are both their first albums. And in my opinion, it's both of their best albums as well. Obviously, they both have more to prove. They can drop more albums, but I love these two so much. Wow. You would think I would pick Sprained Ankle after the whole breakdown I gave of it, but it's just really hard for me to pick against To Hell With It, so I'm going with To Hell With It. AI Youngboy 2 by NBA Youngboy versus I'm Wide Awake It's Morning by Bright Eyes. You guys always expected to see these two things competing against each other in a bracket, I'm sure. This is a completely normal thing, and this happens on all YouTube channels. So it's not anything out of the blue. AI Youngboy 2, most Youngboy fans and just rap fans in general would probably say this is his best album. It has most of his hits on it, and for how unseriously some music fans will take Youngboy sometimes, I think this album does get quite a bit of respect, so I think that's a good thing. And this album's amazing. Lonely Child is one of my favorite rap songs ever. But Poison Oak by Bright Eyes is my favorite song ever. So I'm sorry, Youngboy, but I am going to have to move on. I'm Wide Awake It's Morning. Here we got Figure 8, my favorite Elliott Smith album, versus The College Dropout, my favorite Kanye album. Now, Elliott Smith has been on here twice. Kanye only appears on this bracket once. Figure 8 has Stupidity Tries, and it also has Easy Way Out. Those are my two favorite Elliott Smith songs probably ever. But The College Dropout, this one's not close either. The College Dropout, as unpopular as it is to say anything positive about Kanye these days, this is like a different era of music. Whew, this album is crazy. It's going to be tough to beat. I'm going to be honest with you guys. So we are going to continue the round of 32 here on the other side. We have Beatopia by Biba Doobie versus Lovers Rock by Sade. Beatopia, indie pop album by UK superstar Biba Doobie. My favorite album from her, the only one that's going to appear on this bracket. I think she's so good, and this is one of my favorite albums ever. And then Lovers Rock by Sade, 90s R&B megastar, but this album came out in 2001, I believe. It has probably my favorite Sade song of all time on it, probably two or three of my favorite Sade songs of all time on it, but I am going to go with Beatopia here. I love Beatopia way too much. Whew, this one's hard. This one's really hard. We got LP1 by FKA Twigs versus Orquídeas by Kali Uchis. FKA Twigs, probably my favorite artist in the world right now, or at least one of them. Kind of art pop, just really tries to do a lot of different things, which I really appreciate about musicians. I wish more people would do things the way she does. But then we have Orquídeas by Kali Uchis, which if you've watched my videos before, you know this was my favorite album to come out in 2024, and Tu Corazón Es Mío is my favorite song that came out in 2024. This is extremely difficult for me to decide, but the thing is I have Kali Uchis on here twice, and I only have FKA Twigs on here once. I'm going to have to go with LP1. I'm going to have to go with LP1 as much as I love Orquídeas. And you guys know how much I love that album. Okay, now we have Starboy by The Weeknd versus Be the Cowboy by Mitski. Starboy, The Weeknd's most pop-heavy album, in my opinion, other than maybe After Hours. Has so many hits on it. And then Be the Cowboy by Mitski, probably my favorite Mitski album. Well, it is my favorite Mitski album. It's the only one on here. Just has some of her greatest songs ever. But I'm going Starboy here. What? Okay, well, Starboy just vanished from the bracket. So I guess we're moving on Be the Cowboy. Mitski refused to be denied. I'm not going to try and resolve this problem halfway through the video because this website is already hard enough to deal with to begin with. Red Moon and Venus by Kali Uchis versus Damn by Kendrick Lamar. This is a tough matchup. Red Moon and Venus was my favorite album of 2023. We've talked about Kali Uchis already. Latin pop, R&B artist, incredible. Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest rappers of all time. Doesn't really need to be talked about that much. I already moved on Kendrick on the other side. I just made Kali Uchis lose. And Red Moon and Venus is my favorite Kali Uchis album. So I'm going to move on Kali, and I know I might take some heat for that. We have Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers versus Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. I felt like I needed to put a Tyler album on here just because he's one of my favorite artists, but Tyler's albums, like I don't have one album that really stands out to me, but I like Tyler when he's rapping the most, so this is definitely his rappiest album, so I put Call Me If You Get Lost. But Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with in this bracket, and we'll talk more about this later, but that's moving on. We have Preacher's Daughter by Ethel Cain versus How I'm Feeling Now by Charlie XCX. Two different albums. Preacher's Daughter is like a really dark, depressing indie album, basically about Ethel Cain's upbringing and so many different types of trauma that she went through. There's a song about her like literally getting eaten alive on this album. Just haunting stuff, but with some of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. And then How I'm Feeling Now by Charlie XCX, which has, in my opinion, the greatest 3-track run on an album in music history, which was Claws, Forever, 7 Years. That run is crazy to me. So I'm going to go with How I'm Feeling Now. But shout out to my roommate Kirby for putting me onto that Ethel Cain album. I absolutely love it so much. It's so good. Here's another good one. This is kind of a battle of the childhood for me. We got Minutes to Midnight by Linkin Park, my favorite rock band of all time, versus Songs in A Minor by Alicia Keys. Obviously, like I've said 100 times, she's one of my favorite artists ever. I'm going to give this one to Linkin Park, though. I already moved on Diary of Alicia Keys, which is my favorite Alicia album, so I don't really feel bad about that. And then we have Illmatic versus I Used to Know Her by Her. I love her. She's one of my favorite modern artists, but Illmatic is probably the greatest rap album ever. So I'm going to pick Illmatic. Shout out to her, though. Love her music so much. I think she's incredible. Round of 16. We're going to talk about these a little bit less now. We have House of Balloons by The Weeknd versus Good Kid, Mad City. Nobody said this bracket was going to be easy. And remember, this is all my opinion on this bracket, okay? These are all my opinion, but I'm not saying I've decided yet. Oh, gosh, yeah, it's going to have to be House of Balloons. I was like trying to debate it in my head, but I'm gonna go with House of Balloons. I love Good Kid, Mad City, though. Obviously, I love it. Oh no, this being a second round matchup is cursed. We got The Diary of Alicia Keys versus Stranger in the Alps by Phoebe Bridgers. Oh, why couldn't one of these have faced Mitchell Musso? No offense to Mitchell Musso. How do I even pick this, though? Like, genuinely, how do I pick this? I'm going to move on The Diary of Alicia Keys. That might be crazy. We have Self-Titled by Mitchell Musso versus To Hell With It. We're going to move on to Hell With It. And we have I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning versus The College Dropout. Like I told you, Poison Oak is my favorite song of all time. I love Bright Eyes so much. I love this album so freaking much you do not even understand. I think it's one of the greatest indie albums of all time, which is why I'm going to go with The College Dropout. Sorry to trip you guys out there. I just love The College Dropout too much. We have Beatopia versus LP1. This is going to go to Beatopia. No offense, LP1. You're amazing too, but Beatopia is really going to be tough to beat. Hey, we got Be the Cowboy versus Red Moon and Venus. This is why I don't really care that Starboy got first rounded, because Red Moon and Venus was going to win this either way. If it was Starboy or if it was Be the Cowboy, Red Moon and Venus was going to take that. So I'm not totally bent out of shape. You can imagine Red Moon and Venus beat Starboy there if you want. Punisher versus How I'm Feeling Now. This is a complete wash. It's Punisher all the way. I love Charlie. I love that album, but that one's not even close. Illmatic versus Minutes to Midnight. Whoo! It's Illmatic, though. Shout out to my childhood. I loved listening to Linkin Park. But I'm in my 20s. I have a lot of life ahead of me, and Illmatic is an album that I'm just going to listen to a lot more for the rest of my life. Okay, this is getting intense now. We have The Weeknd's House of Balloons versus The Diary of Alicia Keys. The magnum opus of The Weeknd versus the magnum opus of Alicia Keys. And these are arguably my two favorite artists to ever step on this planet. Oh gosh, there's just so many incredible ones on House of Balloons. And then, honestly, You Don't Know My Name is probably the one that I really associate with The Diary the most. You don't know my name. Yeah, I'm moving it on. I love that album. We got To Hell With It versus The College Dropout. Pink Panthers, I love you, but I think your run is going to come to an end here. I'm going to move on The College Dropout. I do think she could end up dropping an album better than The College Dropout. It just depends on how consistent she is with her career, but she's incredible. One of my favorite artists. And to have only 2 albums released and they're both on this bracket for me is crazy. Beatopia versus Red Moon in Venus. This is a great matchup. Beatopia really takes you into an entire world. And I've kind of thought to myself before, if I had the capability to make music and have it sound exactly how I wanted, Beatopia is probably like the album I would make. And as a Pink Panther has feature on it, Red Moon and Venus is just incredible. Makes you feel like you're a different person when you're listening to it. But I'm going to have to go with Beatopia. We got Punisher versus Illmatic. Oh! That is evil. That's evil that I would have to make this decision. I'm kind of regretting doing this video in some ways just because I don't like having to decide this stuff. I don't like really having to pick. I'm going with Punisher. I love Illmatic. I can stop saying I love the albums when I eliminate them because these are my favorite albums ever. Like, that goes without saying that I love all of these. Oh! Dude, this Final Four feels like so accurate. This Final Four genuinely feels so accurate. It feels so spot on, doesn't it? For me, it does. I mean, there's just some things I'm missing at the same time, though. I'm missing things, but I love this. We got the Diary of Alicia Keys. We have the College Dropout. We have Beatopia, and we have Punisher. These two are kind of that early 2000s with the soul samples. Just incredible artists who really are just insane talents. A lot of piano-esque beats. This one obviously is rap. This one is more R&B. But these two albums have a lot of the same vibe to them. And then you come over here and you got, again, two things that are so similar. This is kind of like bedroom poppy, but really just an indie album at its core with some rock on it as well. And then we have another indie album with some rock on it by two of the biggest names in modern indie music. What a poetic ending to this bracket. So I have to decide kind of, I like how, yeah, I love this. I love this. So the Diary of Alicia Keys versus the College Dropout. I'm going to go with the College Dropout. And then Beatopia versus Punisher. I've on the record said multiple times that I think Beatopia is my favorite album ever. But at the same time, I think Punisher is a more consistent album. Beatopia has a couple songs that I skip when I listen. Punisher does not. But Beatopia's highs could be considered higher. Actually, not true, because the best song on Punisher I like better than my favorite song on Beatopia. I hate when I just prove myself wrong with brackets, but it's going to be Punisher, which makes my final the College Dropout versus Punisher, and this just feels right. This just feels right, and it's going to be Punisher winning it. So Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers is my favorite album of all time. I might still go around saying something else is my favorite album of all time, but for those of you who watch the video, you can call me on that, I guess, because I really do love this album so much. Like, it's crazy how much I love this album. Chinese Satellite makes me cry every time. I Know the End, Goosebumps, wow, it's the most moving piece of work I've ever heard. Moon Song reminds me of, Lost Family. Like, it's just Punisher, the song about Elliott Smith. It's crazy. What else do we have? Halloween, Putting Your Mask On, Pretending to Be Somebody Else. I could go on for days. I could talk about this album all day. Garden Song, looking back at your past and realizing that you're not the same person you used to be and how that's sad, but also can, you can kind of see it with a positive outlook as well. What else is on there? Oh my gosh, dude, Graceland 2. Graceland 2, just a song about being in love, wanting to do anything for the person in your life. Yeah, that album is crazy. This album has everything. Everything you could ask for. Everything. I know there's other songs on there too that I didn't mention, but Phoebe's goated. Phoebe is goated. Phoebe, we need new music. I think that is kind of the conclusion I'm coming to here. Wow. Thank you guys for going on this ride with me. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this. It was hard to decide. Tomorrow, I could have a completely different opinion, and maybe I would pick something completely different. So if you see me in public and you watch this video and you hear me say something else in my favorite album, don't call me on it, like I said, because I could be telling the truth in that moment. My mind changes every single day. But today, this feels like my favorite album of all time. So again, thank you guys for watching. Love you all. Peace.